wants to tame me. You can't catch me on the run, cause I'm gone, yeah. I blaze trails, set fire to what's behind me. No, I'm never looking back, I'm on the run. I could only ever be what I'm made to be. It feels good when I'm living on the edge. Watch me now, roll like thunder, gonna sacred ground. Can't stop me now, I don't give up and I won't back down. I'm a force of nature, can't be contained. I got lightning running all through my veins. Watch me now, watch me now.
Hi, I'm Wyatt Milo. I'm from Canova, West Virginia. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Par-Mar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Par-Mar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Par-Mar app and sign up for the Par-Mar rewards card. Food, gas, groceries, and more. We are gold and blue proud, and we are Par-Mar stores.
If there's not a Par-Mar store near you now, there will be soon.
Law offices of Mark Plants and Kevin Davis. First line of defense. Buzzballs, ready-to-drink cocktails. Number one single-serve premix brand in the U.S. Buzzballs, have a ball. Yes, and have a ball. That is right, my friends. And it's Buzzballs, and it's a good day. It's a good day to be alive, enjoying this weather here this fall. It's warm. It's the first or second day of fall. I'm just totally digging it. Welcome to the WolfMan's call. Welcome to it's Mountaineer week, 3-1 so far, heading into a huge game against the TCU Horned Frogs. Wow, man, it's a tough week. They got to be getting ready. Is Garrett Green, the quarterback, is he going to be ready this week? I'm not so sure. It might be, once again, upon Nico Marchio, the redshirt freshman, who's going to have to step up and try to take this team so that they go 4-1 heading into the bye. Wow. Hey, welcome all, and what a day. Hey, we got some great guests for you coming really soon. First one we have is A.P. Stedham. Now, this guy is tight. He's A.P. and Kelly, as we see it, on Voice America Sports. I mean, he's all over on Spotify there. You can listen to that. We'll show you that as well. He's a Heisman Trophy, Maxwell Award, Bolitnikoff Award. He votes for all those. We're going to talk about that and find out who's going in the lead this week. He's part of the Football Writers Association of America, the U.S. Basketball Writers Association. And he's also the producer for the Wishbone Boys documentary, which I just checked into. And it is really cool. Back from 1971 Alabama team. So we are really in for a treat. But before I get to AP here, I got this one thing I want to get to. And that's, of course, and that is Mike Dunlap. And Mikey here, as you guys all know, PayPal.com at polkadot66 at gmail.com. That's his PayPal. Go ahead. If you can donate there, Coach Don Nail has jumped on board. Mountaineer Brothers have jumped on board. Just received a kidney after 3 years of waiting, 4 times a week, dialysis 4 hours at a time. And then he finds out he's got to get open heart surgery at the Cleveland Clinic up there in Cleveland. And all these expenses. Well, you know what? WolfMan's call here, myself, all of us that contribute to this show. We don't let friends down. We don't leave friends when they need us. So again, if you can go ahead, paypal.com and polkadot66 at gmail.com. And actually, now I'd like to go ahead and introduce our first guest of the day. And this is so cool. Now, again, A.P. Stedham, he is a national sports writer. It covers SEC, Alabama. He's all over the radio. He's got the shows. I just said the podcast. He votes for the Heisman, the Maxwell, and the Bolitnikoff. Let's welcome A.P. Stedham. What's up, A.P.?
Hey, what's up, Wolfman? What's up?
Oh my gosh! I'll tell you what, man. I'm done to read. I'm trying to remember everything, man. You're a guy, busy guy, man. But it's great to have you on the show. Welcome.
Hey, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Glad to be here.
Well, all right, awesome. Now I got to go ahead and throw this up here for you because I want to get to this right off the bat. And by the way, as I'm talking to you, AP, this documentary on with the boys. I'm sorry, the
Wishbone Boys.
Man, that is so cool. Well, go ahead and talk to me about that a little bit as I get this up for you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, the Wishbone Boys. Coach Bryant of Alabama, people may know about him. Coach Paul W. Bear Bryant. He was there for 25 years, but the last 12 years of his career at Alabama, they implemented the Wishbone offense, and it was coming off 2 6-win seasons, believe it or not, back-to-back 6 wins. And they implemented the Wishbone offense and went on to win over 100 games in a decade, never happened before in college football, and to win 3 more national championships to reach 6 in his career. So it was really something that catapulted the University of Alabama maybe into a different stratosphere. And then you have the Nick Saban era on top of that. So Alabama, they become, I'd say, I was telling people that Alabama with Nick Saban became the Notre Dame of the South, but I think Notre Dame is wanting to be Alabama because Alabama goes everywhere to recruit now, which they didn't in the past. But we made this documentary. People can check it out. The Wishbone Boys on the link there, and you can look at the trailer. And we premiered it a couple of years ago on in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and it was really cool. We have every offensive star from 71 to 82. Some of the names you may recognize: Ozzie Newsome and Dwight Stevenson and John Hanna and Richard Todd and the Rutledge brothers, the only 2 brothers ever to be starting quarterbacks and win a national championship. I don't think that'll ever happen again, Wolfman. I don't think that'll happen again.
I think you're right, man. But you look at this. So again, when we look at this here now, AP and Kelly, as we see it, this is your podcast. I mean, it's awesome. I see right here the first one on Spotify. Max Starks, man. Well, that's my brother Craig's partner with the Pittsburgh Steelers broadcast, and I'm just. And then you had Cully on there, Jeff Culhane, a few weeks ago from Florida State, and I worked with WVU on the network again. So we walk in the same circles, man, a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, we always have the broadcasters on. They're fun. They're very descriptive, as you are, and it's great to have them on. Yeah, that's our radio show. We are on Spotify. People can listen to every archived episode since we started. And we're heard in 5 states: Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, Tennessee. But as I said, you can listen to it at any time. We usually put it up there about 1 o'clock Central on Thursday, and it plays around the state in various places Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But you can always refer back to that those archived episodes and check out the guests. We have some interesting people. We had Archie Griffin, 2-time Heisman winner. He's the only one that could fill that position, right, Wolfman? 2 times. He's the only one who's done it.
Oh, now is Caleb? Well, let's hold on to that question because I want to get to that in a little bit, but that will be the next one. Hey, last thing I wanted to show you is this, or get this out there, is the Wishbone Boys Charity Golf Tournament. I think it's cool, man, that go ahead and do this, the charities. So it's going to be what day is it? It's November
2nd. That's a Thursday, and they're honoring the 1973 national championship game. That'll be that Saturday against LSU. So it's in Bessemer, Alabama, which is not too far from Tuscaloosa, about 45 miles to the northeast. And anybody could play, men or women. They could play in that tournament. They have a lot of the Wishbone Boys will be participating, so it should be fun.
All right, very cool. That's excellent. All right, so now let's go ahead and let's jump into this. There's so much information. I was talking to Mike Dunlap, who we were just talking about with his kidney transplant, and he set us up together, so the connection is very, very interesting. And I was looking at this, and I'm saying is front runners right now in the SEC, Alabama, they've won the last 2, but boy, they did go down that first time. What's going on there, man? Is there a change of guard? LSU up? Who's going to be the team? Georgia Wolfman won the last 2. Alabama was in contention. They're always going to be in contention, with Nick Saban at the helm, of course, because they recruit and develop talent. But they're really having trouble at the quarterback position. They've had these 4 number 1 draft choices: Tua Tagovailoa and
Mac Jones and Jalen Hurts. And so they've had some excellent quarterbacks in these past few years. So they got lucky. But now all of a sudden they're scrambling to come up with somebody who could be a leader and an effective passer. So Jalen Milroe, he can run with the wind, as I say. He can run with the wind, and he can throw the long ball. But he does turn the ball over occasionally, and he's not as accurate on those shorter throws. So he gives them the best chance right now. They have the former Notre Dame quarterback who transferred, Buckner, along with Tommy Reese, was the OC for Notre Dame, now at Alabama. And they have Ty Simpson. He was a highly recruited player. But right now we're going to go Jalen Milroe. He's very athletic. He's probably one of the fastest people on the team. And
boy, too, isn't he? Big guy.
Yeah, big guy, tough to tackle, tough to get your hands on him, really.
Yeah.
He's so fast.
Yeah,
So
no doubt.
it's a little bit different. I tell people Nick Saban's going to have to coach this year.
Well, it's amazing because it looks like he's got like 50 coaches on his staff or anyone, all the people there. To be quite honest with you, now Nick Saban, of course, coached at West Virginia for a few years. And when I worked at WVU, his office was my office at the Calacino where they played the basketball. Football was there then. So I always felt like I got the Nick Saban vibes when I was and I loved it because, obviously he's from West Virginia, right down the road from Fairmont. And
That's right.
big fan. What's the best thing about Nick Saban for you, AP, when you look at him?
Yeah.
You go back to Bear Bryant, so from Gene Stallings, everybody that's come through. What's so good about Nick Saban?
Yeah, I think Nick Saban, when he brought to Alabama, was they always had a standard. The great coaches have a standard of play. So just to give you an example, when Coach Bryant was there, I know Marty Lyons, the former great defensive lineman, played for the New York Jets for about 12, 13 years. He said they beat somebody maybe 38-8 one Saturday. And the next day they had to replay the game because Coach Bryant wasn't satisfied with the performance after you beat somebody 38-8. So there was a standard at Alabama. So Nick Saban brought that back. And I tell people he has mastered the R&D so far, the recruiting and the development. And he's able to bring in all types of interesting coaches. He's one to wide open to suggestions and ideas from other people. He brings them on board to have an analyst on the staff, and he'll bring in coaching staffs from other schools to learn. Of course, he's not trying to tell them anything. He's trying to get the most out of them. But he's brought back the ability and really kind of extended it, the ability for Alabama to go to 50 states and beyond to get ball players. They know that Crimson Tide. They know that Roll Tide. People know that brand now.
Yeah. Hey, let me ask you, is it because he gets so many guys in the NFL? I mean, what was it? Because we can remember when he came in, Shula was the last coach before him, was he not?
Right. That's correct.
And that was a tough time for Alabama, meaning it wasn't an elite time.
No.
Good, but it wasn't their elite time. And how did he change that right off being Nick Saban? Obviously, he had won at LSU, coming from Miami, the Dolphins had. And he changed it right away. And now everybody wants to go to Alabama. And it's probably one of the easiest jobs to recruit at least right now it is.
Yeah, now it is. At that time, I remember there were some people who would describe Alabama as maybe a difficult job because of the expectations. They'd won the championships with Coach Bryant. And even, Alabama's been winning championships since 1925. Not many schools can make that claim. And although through the decade, just missed a couple decades. But what he did was, in that first class, it was Julio Jones. I think people know that name. And Mark Ingram, who was the first Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama. So he brought that type of talent to Alabama. And right away, they were good as freshmen. And he had, Dante Hightower, I think, was a freshman with that group as well. So he had and Andre Smith was still there, the very good offensive tackle, ended up playing the NFL for quite a while. So he brought them on board. That first year, they were upset by Louisiana Monroe. So that was that 2008 team. He was the 2007 team. That's when they brought in Julio, Mark Ingram, and those other players, Dante Hightower. That first year ended up 7-6, lost to Louisiana Monroe for homecoming. Think about that, Wolfman. Think about that.
That wouldn't go over very well, would it?
No, but he had the cachet from winning the championship at a program that was dormant since '58, LSU.
Right.
So he won there. So that was not too far removed. And you can tell people, look, I've been in not only in college football and producing at various levels, one at Toledo, I guess. He was pretty good there. Michigan State has some bowl teams. But I won a championship, national championship, at a school down the road to the southwest in Baton Rouge, LSU. So I think I can do it at Alabama.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I just, I appreciate, he's all about discipline. It's all about, filling your role, what you commit to the team. It's not about individual, where there could be a whole bunch of individualism with the magnitude of the talent that they have, but he gets it done. How much does he play into that? And how much does his coaching staff, does he let coach and work in that as well?
Yeah, he's had some good coaches there. Steve Sarkisian now is at Texas, and Lane Kiffin was there. That's on the offensive side. And, he's had some pretty good defensive coordinators as well. And, Nick Saban, we always called him the most overpaid graduate assistant. He's always with the defensive backs, Wolfman. He's always with those defensive backs. So that's it. And we all know that when you're evaluating a football team, number one, you look at the quarterback. Number two, for me, I'm looking at the offensive line because they can prolong the offense being on the field to have the other team's offense on the sideline, which helps your defense. The other thing I'm looking at is that secondary, the last line of defense. Okay, you could have some mistakes up front, but if that secondary does not communicate, especially in the passing game, it's touchdown city, right?
Yeah.
So, so my thing is with Alabama, they're going to get talent now with Nick Saban. He's got them rolling. They're getting players from everywhere, every corner of the earth. But you have to do something when you get them on campus. I mean, that's the beginning. That's not the end. I don't care how many stars next to your name. All those players have stars, 5 stars, 4 stars. And I've found out, Wolfman, maybe you have seen this yourself, a great player in high school is going to do one of two things. They're going to be happy to be surrounded by similar type talent, or they're going to retreat and say, gee whiz, everybody's just as big and fast as me. What am I going to do now?
Nope. Yeah, absolutely. I remember Greeny Day, first day of freshman football in pads. They put us up to freshman against the seniors. I'm talking Don Nalen back in the day.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, you guys, you're freshmen now. Here's the seniors going against 22-year-old men. So it wasn't a great day for freshmen. We call that Greeny Day. Very well. Okay. That is awesome. Now, the last question I have before I get into the other stuff, first of all, is greatest quarterback ever at Alabama. I mean, Tua put up 70 points on the Broncos. Where was well, I mean, my gosh, all the great quarterbacks. How do you not get spoiled, and how do you keep it going?
Right. Yeah, that's a tremendous question, one I've been asked many times. And I think that I would have to say for 1 year, Mac Jones set that record. What was it, 78%? Joe Burrow had it 77 point something, and Mac just edged him out. And then they were undefeated. They played 10 SEC games. They beat Ohio State. I mean, it wasn't any cream puff team. Put up 55 points in the championship. They had an All-American quarterback with Mac Jones, All-American running back, Najee Harris. And beside that, Heisman Trophy winner, wide receiver. Offensive line won the Joe Moore Award, I think. Outland Trophy winner, Remington Award winner. I think it was all in the same year. I mean, how could they do better? That gives you an indication of, I thought that's the best team ever. And the defense was just good enough. I think they led the conference, maybe giving up 19 points, which that's defense in this day and age. 19 points is the best in the SEC, then you're pretty good.
Yeah, no doubt. 19. All right, so SEC. Who do you see now? Do you still see Alabama? I mean, they're, third in the West right now? But it's so young in the season. Who do you see as front runners?
Yeah, LSU with that offense, Jaden Daniels, Malik Neighbors, that's a good combination. They had 1,000 yards last year. They have some freshman offensive tackles. Harold Perkins on the defensive side can terrorize people if they put them in the right position. I think LSU is pretty strong. They have to travel to Tuscaloosa. We'll see how they do. They're going to Ole Miss this week, but Ole Miss struggled against Alabama. They shut them down to 10 points. I think that they have you're looking at the better quarterback, Wolfman, in the West with Jaden Daniels. Mm-hmm. And then in the East, of course, you have Carson Beck. He replaced Stetson Bennett in the fourth, who you can't duplicate what he did because I think he was MVP 4 times in the playoffs. the college football playoffs, 2 games each year. So, but Georgia's still strong with that Brock Bowers, the tight end. I mean, he is unbelievable, and they have a good offensive line, tough defensively, usually solid kicking game. So Georgia's the favorite until anybody beats them. But in the West, I think LSU is a team I would say that can capture that division and maybe play Georgia. Alabama's in the mix, but the quarterback play has to be better. I don't know if they can survive the turnovers. I'm not sure. But defensively, they've been playing pretty well so far. But offensively, I think I told somebody, I'm not sure Alabama, who's averaged anywhere in the last 10 years between 35 to 48 points, I'm not sure if they score 40 points this year in an SEC game.
That's interesting. Let me ask you this. Do you buy into the Georgia not playing a full 60 minutes yet? Or, because that they're not doing it. They're playing a quarter here, half here, but just putting together a whole game.
Right, yeah. I mean, they played South Carolina, SEC Eastern Division opponent. They were down, and they came back, so that showed that they can manage some adversity. They have to go on the road against Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, was upset by Florida down there in Gainesville because I thought Tennessee would win that game. I thought Joe Milton III was not going to be good as Hinton Hooker. I didn't have that fairy tale that he was going to be as good as Hinton, because Hinton was really good for 2 years. But I thought Tennessee would beat Florida. But Georgia, probably their toughest game, maybe it's going to be that Tennessee game up in Knoxville. That's in November. That's a ways off. But Georgia has the talent, and Kirby Smart, he keeps them focused, and they play tough defense, so you're always in the game. Their quarterback has been very good so far, and they have excellent receivers. They have Lovett, transfer from Missouri, and some other people, and Ladd McConkey's still injured, I think, but he's a good receiver. And that Bowers, I mean, he is tremendous.
Yeah. Let's see. We played Alabama back in the kickoff classic probably 6-7 years ago.
Right.
Atlanta, a Chick-fil-A kickoff classic, to be exact.
Right.
And obviously, the linemen were always just something to watch for me because I'm a lineman, right? But I watched that. What is the difference? And when you look at all the teams, I'm not talking about just Alabama. I'm talking about SEC in the defense. They always talk about defensive linemen, offensive linemen. What's the difference that you see amongst the other power conferences?
Right. All the other leagues, I mean, you find speed. Ohio State has speed. West Virginia has speed. Okay. But the SEC has the depth, especially on the defensive line, of big people that can move. Big people that can move. And there's a lot of them within the region. So they don't have to go outside the region. There's other teams that have defensive linemen that are excellent. I mean, All-Americans, no question. But do they have the depth? Do they have 8 of them? Let's say 8 of them that are comparable. Because this is a passing era, you have to affect the quarterback. And you get 8 to 10 on the defensive line. And then offensively, Alabama's got, they say, one of the biggest lines in football, pro or college, but they haven't been performing very well. So they underachieved at this point.
Well, we'll see how that continues on. But it's funny because I watched, in fact, Dana Holgorsen was the head coach at the time at West Virginia, and they were platooning because he was going the hurry jet offense, that they were platooning their whole defensive line. And I saw monster after monster and they're all running out, platooning in and out in between plays because they had to get him out. I just thought that was really interesting, really funny, and I really think that really is a big separation between SEC and other power conferences. I really do believe that is one of the keys. And when you go ahead and look at it, and again, we're here with A.P. Stedham. This is amazing. Co-host A.P. and Kelly as we see it. I mean, I'm fired up if you can't tell because this is cool. We got you out here. And Heisman Trophy now. Let's get to this. Who are your top dogs? You said Archie Griffin. He was the only guy that won 2. Caleb Williams, is he in the running to go ahead and be the front runner so far to make it for the second time in consecutively?
Yeah, I don't have any front runners at the moment, Wolfman, because there's so many marquee games left on everyone's schedule, and that seems to be the key, especially when you're reaching that November. If you can get to that championship type game for your conference in December, that last stage, that last performance, because we have to vote by that Monday afternoon. I think it's like 4:00 Eastern or something like that. So, Caleb Williams, he has to play Oregon and all these other big games. And some of the other candidates, Michael Penix, former transfer from Indiana at Washington, Quinn Ewers at Texas. I mean, let's say Drake May at North Carolina. You got Riley Leonard at Duke. I'm just trying to remember all the people. Jordan Travis, Florida State, right? Hey, he's got a good football team. He's got a chance to do some big things. He beat Clemson on the road overtime. So that was huge for his resume. But there's so many people. So I don't have any specific people right now, but you're just observing and watching how they perform, especially in the big games.
That's interesting. So you have no front runners, but I mean,
No.
you got a big list. So does that mean also for, when you're looking at the Maxwell Award? And let me ask you this, AP. The Heisman's for the most outstanding football player, and the Maxwell is for the best college football player. How do you define that and determine that?
Right. Yeah, that's interesting because I was remembering back now, thinking about, let's say, the Maxwell Award, this is way back. But, Hugh Green, I think, won the Maxwell Award the same year George Rogers won the Heisman.
Okay.
And, Pittsburgh is in the state of Pennsylvania, and that's a Pennsylvania-based award. So maybe that's a key for me to kind of just remember that history, that the Heisman was given to, let's say, one of the top running backs. Herschel Walker was a freshman at that time, I believe, and had a sensational year, as we remember. But that's the distinction. So if somebody on the other side of the ball really just dominates, they could be in consideration. That's how I would answer the question.
Okay. And when you look at that is it basically the Heisman? Is it for the best quarterback now? How hard is it for a quarterback and wide receiver or any other position to get into that? For you as a voter, and I don't know what you do, but you know the trends.
Right. We saw Devontae Smith, and I think the one before that was it Desmond Howard, maybe, who was a wide receiver who won the Heisman. So that's a lot of years, a couple of decades, right?
Right.
So it's rare that we see a wide receiver or that type of player being even in contention. So he won it. So it is possible, but it has trended towards the quarterback position because the ball's in their hand. We're in a quarterback-centric era where they're throwing the football. 40 times is not a big number in this day and age. Years ago, 40 times, my goodness, it might throw that in 2 games or so. But and so that's the trend right now, the quarterback position. But a running back would have to be the primary offensive load for his team, I think, to be considered right now. And probably have to have some numbers, reaching, let's say 1,200 minimum, probably 1,500 or so, and score 20 touchdowns, maybe something like that. And they don't get the ball. They don't get the ball enough.
Right. No, that's the truth, right? There's no doubt about it. Everything is spotlighted on the quarterback as well.
Yeah.
So when you look at the Biletnikoff Award, and it's the most outstanding receiver,
Right.
I didn't realize this, but it's the most outstanding receiver, no matter what position. Whoever's the best receiver. How do you look at that, and when you vote for it?
Yeah.
What are you looking for? I guess just numbers.
Yeah. You know what? I try to look at the school. Let's say you're at a school that maybe hasn't thrown the ball very much, or they don't have a receiver in their history that's caught a lot of passes. What if he surpasses that by 50 passes or something like that? You're thinking, and their team's winning. You have to consider somebody like that because he's done something at a school that's never happened, and their team is winning. He's helping his team win and contributing to victories, is a major part. So you look at those things, but it's usually on a winning team, I would say, because more than often, if you're looking at somebody who's just they built up the numbers and they were losing, they're passing so many times, to try to catch up. It just statistically, they're just accumulating numbers. It's not really affecting the wins and losses, and it's not at critical times, let's say. So you have to kind of gauge those things. But I'm open to watching people. I don't, kind of put myself in a corner when I'm voting. I look around. I'm checking everybody.
All right. Well, I like that. I'm digging that. Have you ever voted for a Heisman? And you don't have to answer if you don't want to, but have you ever voted for a Heisman player that did not have the best record, but he was the best player out there and that was just not competing, I guess, in the top polls?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm sure I voted for somebody who probably had a couple losses or so, wasn't in the playoffs, let's say. I'm trying to think if I voted for somebody where the record was maybe, let's say, 4 losses or more. I don't think I have.
Well, Like an RG3, maybe. I think they were, 8-4 or something.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, RG3. Yeah, RG3, and I can't remember the specifics of who else was in contention, but he put up such large numbers, and he was really carrying a team, right, to 8 or 9 victories or something like that, right?
Yeah, and that was stadium too. Woo.
Yeah, he was fast. He's a track man, right? He captured your attention.
Yes.
Track man.
He sure did. Okay, so last question for you, and before I'll let you go, brother, but the Dion factor. What is your opinion of the Dion factor and how he's affecting college football right now?
Right. Number one, is he committed to stay at Colorado? Let's say 4 years. I would say 4 years. Give himself and the program a chance to grow because he's going to the Big 12 now. Okay, we know that because he has a limited amount of talent. He doesn't have the offensive and defensive linemen. We knew that going into the season. Definitely, he's gonna get some skilled people now. I mean, he's gonna attract some skilled people. It's up to him to get the linemen to make a difference, to be on the national level of competing. I'm not saying he's gonna win every game, but you want to be in contention to win at the end. So is that going to happen? You have to get those linemen, offensive and defense. And then is he going to stay with that team, Colorado? Right? Is he going to stay with that team? Because he's going to get talent. He's going to get talent on the perimeter.
Yeah, that's an interesting factor. And what do you think of, and this is all part of the last question, but what do you think of the attacks on him? Do you think they're fair? Do you think that's right or not right? Or what's your take?
To me, if I was an opposing coach, I'm coaching my team. That's what I would do. I'm coaching my team. We know Dion is flashy, and he's going to be vocal and verbalize things. His team's going to, they showed him trash talking against Oregon, right? I don't know if you saw that video. I just watched it recently. No. And that's fine. I always felt that, let the other person talk. That's fine. It wouldn't bother me. It wouldn't bother me. It just wouldn't, because I'm looking to win, and I put in all these hours, and I'm out in the hot sun and weather. I don't care what they say. I still have to beat that person on the field. So are the attacks credible and that type of thing? I just let Dion be himself and go about my business. And if you have any objection to the rules, I know some of the people didn't like all the people transferring there. Well, that's the rules, right?
Yeah.
So he doesn't command the rules. Talk to the people who vote for the rules. So your beef is with them, not with somebody following up on taking advantage of the rules that are implemented. That's what I would say. Especially
when they'll be the same people that are trying to fire you if you don't succeed.
Yeah, right. Everybody has to utilize the tools that are available for their program within the rules and see if you can win football games and attract talent. And that's what it's about, right? We all know if you don't attract talent, you're going to be in trouble.
All right. Well, listen, hey, AP, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate this. I hope you will come back. Think about coming back again later in the season and talk about the SEC, and then we'll see how it's all going, man. Because you know what, dude, you've been doing this for a long time, man, and I really appreciate your wisdom and expertise.
Hey, Wolfman, really appreciate it. Anytime. You just reach out, okay?
All right, I will. Thank you so much.
Okay, now, thank you.
All righty. Thank you. A.P. Stedham. I'll tell you what, man. You know what? He's the Heisman, Maxwell, Biletnikoff. He's a voter. He's part of the Football Writers Association, the Basketball Writers Association. We didn't even get into any basketball, which obviously probably did not want to get into. But with all that being said, man, it's like this is cool. You get to find out in the WolfMan's call. Get the howl going, man, because it's all good stuff. Tomorrow, we're going to have the TCU beat writer, man. Stephen M. Johnson is going to come on at the 5 o'clock hour Eastern time and talk about TCU. And we'll have Tony Altimore, I think, will be on as well, and maybe a Mountaineer or two. But before we go ahead and bring on our next guest, I want to go ahead and bring up Abby Pearson here, Parmar Stores, and I think that it's appropriate right here as the next guest is going to be Jim Workman from Wally's and Wimpy's Sports Digest. But first, let's hear it from Parmar Stores. Abby Pearson, name, image, likeness, man. Parmar, kicking it, getting it done for WVU.
Hi, I'm Abby Pearson from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and when I'm back home, you will find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more, we are gold and blue proud, and we are Parmar stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
All righty. Well, with that being said, let's get to it. Now, here's the cool thing. All right, Jim Workman is coming out. Now, he's Wally's and Wimpy's. He's the CEO, the head dude, publisher, whatever you want to call him. But, he just took over in 2018. I have been reading Wally's and Wimpy's since the 90s there at the stadium. They would go ahead and bring the additions, and we'd all sit there and be like, we'd have that 20 minutes of after lunch or before practice or before the meetings and watching the film. We'd all sit down and we'd be watching or reading that Wally's and Wimpy's, man. So I'm ecstatic. I'm fired up. And let's welcome Jim Workman, Wally's and Wimpy's. What's up, Jim?
How's it going, Wolfman?
It's going good, man. How you doing?
Doing well. Thank you very much. It's really an honor to be on your show. I appreciate the opportunity and the invitation.
Oh, that's cool, man. I appreciate that. And not necessary, but I do appreciate it for sure. And what I want to do is I want to just go ahead and get this up here for you, Jim. And that is, you have a couple things going. Number one is you have the Jim Workman Show, which I'll jump into that real quick, is just so that you're going to let everybody know that you're going to be starting in the next month. And you're going to have all kinds of interviews and different topics.
Yeah, I think, I've been known for sports in my career, but I've done some news stuff and some feature stuff. And I'm really interested in telling interesting stories and maybe even inspiring stories. And man, I'm really excited about it. It's going to launch next month, as you said. And I'm just banking some really cool stories that, they may have a little bit of sports into it, but it's really human interest. And I believe even outside of the borders of West Virginia, it's going to draw some interest. So really excited about it, and I appreciate you bringing that up. I'll be releasing on social media where to get it. I'm told that it will be distributed just like podcasts on all available platforms. So I'll be giving some updates in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, all right. Fantastic. I'm just going to read this here. And, looking at your highlights, I mean, you go back to 2013, 2018, you took over Wally's and Wimpy Sports Digest. You took it from a 13-week seasonal publication. It was a football to a year-round with 22 editions. I mean, that's, January through August, monthly editions. And then you cover high school, college, professional sports with an emphasis on West Virginia athletes. And I go back to, so your whole thing is assistant managing editor 2013 to 17 with the State Journal in Charleston, West Virginia. You go back to the Register, Herald, Beckley, and, you really go back. University of Charleston, 2005. I mean, again, as you've really been into it. And it looks to me like you took a year or two in Los Angeles. What was up with that? You've been all West Virginia, except you want to go see the West Coast or what?
Yeah, I think about a year was enough of the West Coast, but I did get a sports editor's position at a paper in the San Bernardino area, and it was part of the Los Angeles newspaper group. Got some really cool opportunities out there. I covered D3, the SCIAC, which is pretty much like our old WVIAC, except Southern California, and it was D3. Really was a beat writer for the University of Redlands. While I was out there, I'm glad you brought this up. I haven't thought about it in years. The Redlands men's basketball team set the NCAA national scoring average record. I can't remember exactly what it was, but they averaged something like 140 points a game.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, it was just run and gun. And that was a really interesting season. Got to go out to 4 or 5 Dodger games. Saw the X Games out there, covered that. So, I got my fill of it in a year and came back home.
All right, cool, man. Well, you know what? It's good to go experience other places, and so that way you come back, you have more experience, you appreciate it back where you're from, and going to Wally's and Wimpy's there, Wally's WimpySports.com. This is your Facebook page right here, but again, you see the .com right there, how they can get to this, and I have this here on Twitter at WW I mean, I just got it down here, man. I got WallyWimpySports.com. Look at that. I mean, and you got Patreon.com, big time. All right, very cool.
Yeah.
That is good. And I think I got one more thing here for you. There we go. Let's go ahead. You can see this. Now, the cool thing is, you sit there, you talk about the SSAC Division II, all throughout the state. Obviously, there's some other teams like up in, you got Notre Dame College in Ohio and a couple others as well. But, mainly it's a West Virginia conference. And I think it's so important. You got to get Marshall here, the 3-0, WVU 3-1. Parmar Stores, by the way, is your sponsor as well, one of them. And so this is just really cool. Go ahead. Tell me about Wally's and Wimpy's. Tell me about, you took over 2018, but you were hands-on with this for so many years, and where you're taking this right now, because I know you're on the move.
I tell you what, Wolfman, I really have to give credit to Parmar because they were with me day one. And as they say, if there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon. But I've really seen growth in the 5 years with that organization. They've been outstanding to deal with. They distribute the magazines for me in their locations. So it's really been a great unification of, getting the print product out to the people in a place that they're going to be anyway. And it's been a good thing. So Wally's and Wimpy's, you know what? I brought props.
Did you? Okay.
I brought a prop. So I really push, if you want to support Wally's and Wimpy's, you mentioned the Patreon page. What I do, I set it up for $4 a month. You can get the digital edition of Wally's and Wimpy's. And you get it the minute that I send it to the printer, I send it out to the subscribers. So they're actually getting it Sunday night. As the Sunday night NFL game's going on, they get their edition of Wally's and Wimpy's. It may not make it to their local pickup distribution point in print until maybe Monday or Tuesday or maybe even Wednesday as we push it all around the state. But check this out, man. This is what you get when you are a subscriber. And it's going to be backwards because of the camera, but you get it downloaded on your tablet. I mean, it's a beautiful product. You just scroll through it. And like I said, you're getting this on Sunday night.
Yeah, I'm digging
features, that. I mean, here's another important part. The SSAC puts their ratings out on Tuesday afternoons. But I don't know if you can see what I've got here, but on Sunday nights, we're sending out the projected ratings of the high school football, and check them out. They were all spot on from what they was released Tuesday. Of course, we have to call it projected ratings, but it's not the official release point from the SSAC. But pretty much you get a couple days head start on looking at the ratings. And of course, you've got the NFL scores and schedules. You've got a WVU page dedicated to them and what's going on. And it's always a forward-looking magazine, a feature. We're not talking about the backyard brawl this week. We're not talking about Texas Tech. We're looking ahead to this weekend's games. It's always looking ahead. Of course, we talked about the backyard brawl going into that game. Mm-hmm. Same with Marshall. It's always going to be up to date. Marshall and WVU has been great supporters too, so I have to mention them. This is a really popular features our Fearless Forecast, where we predict the games. Then you've got 3 pages of NCAA scores and schedules. All the Power 5, all the Group of 5 conferences are in there, and the Mountain East right there. You talked about the West Virginia schools; they're in there as well. Ralph's, Morgantown, beer distributor. They've been a great supporter from day one as well. Then you got the high school scores and schedules, and then of course Parmar, man. In the digital edition, we can add a few pages too. So we've got some stuff, and then what we did, we tagged the Nitro high school football team that J.R. House quarterbacked, and they went undefeated, won the state champs in 1998. Yeah. Guess what? It's their 25th anniversary this year.
Oh, okay.
So we did a feature story on that. They're getting together. So, yeah, there's all kinds of neat stuff. And we do a spotlight student athlete from a high school kid in the state of West Virginia. We take nominations for that every week. That's sponsored by Comax, another great sponsor. So it's really a cool thing. And, of course, you got to go in Parmar and pick up your print copy. Stick it in your back pocket, man. Get your pen, get your mark, get your Sharpie out, get your highlighter, and go to town on it and talk to your friends. Even share it with some friends. Pick up a couple copies and maybe a cup of coffee and have fun talking about sports, football season, right?
Yeah, it is. And this is what I love about it because it covers pretty much everything you need to know. I don't know how you guys all do it because my head would be spinning with all the information that you have to find every single week to put together. But let's go ahead and let's get down with it then. Marshall, 3-0. I talk to everybody. I tell them, I say, listen, I'm a big Huff fan. I'm a big Coach Huff fan. And, Clint Trickett and Billy Legg are two great Mountaineers. So if you're not rooting at all for Marshall, I think, you're not thinking about that. It's, put aside any pettiness, but you're rooting for two Mountaineers that really are doing well. Beat Notre Dame last year. Now they just went and beat Virginia Tech. So obviously Huff and crew, being some Mountaineer guys, are making a difference down there in Huntington.
Man, I was really impressed day one on the opening press conference with Coach Huff. I just think a big part of the college game is inspiring the kids and getting them prepared. And I think Huff is really good at that. So I really bought in day one with him. He's not disappointed me in the 3 years that he's been there. He's been the same. He's a solid dude as far as I know. And, the teams play inspired. And, I think it was telling that Owen Porter, who could have left, came back for a fifth year, maybe even a sixth year. I'm not quite sure, but he's been a force on defense, a kid from Spring Valley on defensive end. Mm-hmm. And, another great addition this year, they got some transfers down there. And you know what, when you think about, the Sun Belt or Marshall or whatever, and of course they played in the Conference USA and the MAC since they've been at Division I. Sometimes we think that's a step down, and in past it really was. But when you add these transfers in, you got guys that have played big time schools and big time stadiums coming now and starting for Marshall. And you know what? I think you mentioned it a few minutes ago. They knocked off Notre Dame on the road last year. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think that program is really on the rise, and it's an attractive place to play. It's not too big. It's not small. I mean, they get on TV, and Coach Huff's a really good recruiter. And I think that if he gets in your home, I think he's probably got those recruits. He's got that kind of charisma.
Yeah, I think you're right. In fact, I went there this last spring. Took my son and I went down there, hang out there, see Billy, see Trick, and got to listen to Coach Huff. He said he said it straight out. You guys don't want to be here, then get out, man, because this is an honor to be here at Marshall. And if you don't want to be part of this team, we don't want you here. And he meant it, man. And he said it in probably a lot more colorful ways than that. But I was impressed. I was like, this dude's serious, and he's serious about his football. I mean, not being surprised at Alabama, Nick Saban, all that good stuff, mentoring. But again, dude's legit about who he is and where he's going with his football.
Yeah, and he spent some time at Penn State too. So come on, I mean, if you're going to be an apprentice or a protege anywhere, I mean, Alabama and Penn State is probably two of the top programs that you want to go and sit under. So he's definitely has some qualifications. He didn't have head coaching qualifications. They took a chance, but then again, Marshall is in a place right now that they can't hire a guy that is demanding millions of dollars per year. They had to take a chance on a guy that really had an impressive resume, but just he needed them as much as they needed him. So it was a good marriage.
Yeah, I think you're right there. Let's move it on over to WVU now, 3-1.
Yeah.
It's A little bit surprising for a lot of people, and
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
a lot surprising. I'm not sure how to say that. They were picked 14th, and Neil Brown's been talking about, hey, we're not going to be the 14th worst team in the Big 12, and thus far he's right, and he's picking up some swagger in his press conferences now, and he even mentioned the word, Jim, contender.
Ooh.
To his team. He said, now if you remember, all his other press conferences where he was, well, we're not going to be 14th, darn it. And, that's one thing for sure. And he said he's always believed in the team, and he has, to his credit. But now he mentioned if we're going to be a contender.
Yeah.
And I thought, whoa, wait a second. Something's transferring here now. And he's walking with maybe a little bit more swagger.
Well, when people predict you to win about 3 games for the season and you're 4 games in and you've won 3, it gives you a little confidence, I think. I mean, Pitt was a big win. Texas Tech was a big win, a confidence builder. They have 8 games left. And, when we were looking at the Big 12 programs preseason, there were some programs that we expected to be better than West Virginia, and they are not. So there's still a couple possible wins on there, and who knows? The ball bounces their way, the Mountaineers' way, and man, they might have a winning season. I mean, not too many people thought that when they were putting out the preseason magazines this year.
Yeah, what are you seeing here for who's jumping out at you on the Mountaineers thus far?
Man, you know what I love about the Mountaineers? They were always criticized for not recruiting in state and not landing the top talent in state. And, they're not going to get a 10 out of 10 from me in that regard either. But it's really cool to see the 3 big guys that are state natives up on the offensive line. I really enjoy that. I always took pride in that growing up. I always got the media guide or, the roster and went down the list to see who was on the Mountaineers roster from West Virginia. And that really just means something to Mountaineer fans. And when you see, Doug Nestor, Wyatt Milam, and Zach Frazier up front, man, it gives you a little sense of pride that this is our team. And I think they're doing a great job. Of course, the running game with C.J. Donaldson is going to be great. Jury's out on our quarterback play. Sometimes, it's been a little spotty. I mean, I think that's probably being kind. But, the Big 12 has been known for its quarterback play. And, you really have to be an elite quarterback to be a contender. So we'll see. To be a contender, they're going to have to get more consistent quarterback play, I believe.
No doubt about it. I think you got a young guy. He's got to grow. He's going to go through some bumps. There's no other way around that. But they keep winning ugly, and when you win, it builds confidence. And
Yes.
and it teaches lessons as well. All right, so I haven't talked to you about this, but I'm going to just take a guess, being that you're Wallies and Wimpys. Hudson Clement, he was a Gatorade Player of the Year. What do you know about him? Because I don't know a lot, and I think Wallies and Wimpys is probably one of the few that really covered him.
Well, you know what? I did not know a whole lot about him. Really, I didn't know what he looked like until I pulled his headshot and put it in Wallies and Wimpys a couple of weeks ago in on our WVU page. What I do know is at the state championship game in the state playoffs, when we from around the state really get to see Martinsburg and see them matched up against teams that we're familiar with, man, incredible. And when you're doing what he did in the playoffs against that top caliber talent and programs throughout the state, you kind of knew he was special. So, man, I mean, they just gave him a scholarship. I mean, that was pretty incredible and I would say deserving, but he really had to show him something. I guess maybe his size was hurting him a little bit, but there's no question about his ability.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. Kind of, it's like Cinderella, like a great story. And I think that will be something he'll be remembered for a long, long time.
Sure.
And then let's get to the Mountain East and just talk to me about what your experience is. Did you cover that a little bit? and you make sure that they get a piece of the pie too. And how valuable are those Division II schools?
Oh my gosh, I love D2 football, man. I mean, I go back with in my lifetime loving the West Virginia Conference, and really as a kid, when I would go to a West Virginia Conference game, to me that was huge. That was big time. I had a couple of older cousins that played football for West Virginia Tech, and they were very good at that time. And just the atmosphere. I don't know if have you ever been to Martin Field in Montgomery, West Virginia?
I'm not.
Oh my gosh. It is a stadium that is on a mountain, on the ledge of a mountain. It's like they carved out a platform and stuck a turf field on a mountain. And there's a long climb up there. I mean, it really gives me goosebumps thinking about those days. But there's nothing like college football on Saturdays. It just had atmosphere, and it was big time football. I mean, grown men hitting hard. I mean, this is not. I mean, D2 football to me are impressive, great football players that probably didn't meet the measurables to be recruited at D1. You might have a defensive lineman that can just tear people up, but he may be 2 inches shorter, or maybe a half step slower. But the average fan's not going to see that on game day. If you go, I promise you, if you go see a Mountain East Conference game on Saturday, or sometimes Thursday nights, which is cool because you can go on Thursday night and still catch the West Virginia or Marshall game on Saturday, which I really applaud the Mountain East Conference for doing that. But it's really good football. And, there's a few teams that have been at the top in the last couple of years, but we're seeing this year it's kind of changing a little bit. So I actually looked at the standings today, and Charleston's up on top. Of course, they've been pretty good for a little while, but, the team that was getting some national recognition and also in the ratings has been the team out of Cleveland, Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. And right now they're tied for 7th place. They've lost a couple of conference games. So it doesn't look like Notre Dame of Ohio is going to make the playoffs this year, because to make it from the Mountain East Conference, you pretty much have to go undefeated or maybe lose one game to get that regional rankings. And with Shepherd out now, Shepherd was always a shoe-in to get in, even if they came in 2nd place. But you know what? I don't believe that the Mountain East Conference has ever had 2 teams in the playoffs in the same year. They just don't get the love that other D2 conferences get. But it might be changing.
Yeah, it might be. But, when I think about that, you talk about that Notre Dame College, that was Mike Jacobs, who was the offensive coordinator for WVU back when I played and when I coached. So he was my coach and my mentor from we went 11-0, the 2 seasons, 88, 93. Well, that's his son.
Oh, wow.
And now he's at Lenoir-Rhyne. We had him on the show here, and so he moved on to a big powerhouse school like Lenoir-Rhyne, but obviously he did so well at Notre Dame College. And then, you have my buddy, Pat Kirkland, who was the head coach at Charleston. Now he's with Rich Rod down at Jacksonville State. And I went and saw him this spring as well, because Pat's such a good friend. And my son, Ozzy, he played at Charleston. So, again, I think this Division II thing in the state of West Virginia, I wish fans would really, really go out and support it. Really.
Wolfman, how about this? What if I would have told you, you watch over the last 4 years, go watch as much Shepherd football as you can, because there's going to be a quarterback down there that's going to set records, and he's going to end up being the Chicago Bears quarterback. What would you have thought about that? That's what's happened. Tyson Bad he was a free agent, got picked up by the Bears, and he worked his butt off and showed what he can do. And the coaches were impressed enough to move him up their depth chart and even release some veteran quarterbacks. He's now 2nd string for the Chicago Bears of the National Football League.
He was fun to watch at Shepherd. He was fun to watch, and he put up a lot of numbers. And I got a chance, at least on two different occasions, to watch him. So I do understand what you're saying, and it is a lot of fun. And now, I thought he was going to transfer to WVU his last year. I thought it was going to go down. It did not happen. But we'll say, man, that's pretty cool. Last thing, then. Last thing, I'm going to ask you the same thing I asked AP Stedham. How cool is that to get AP there? He's been covering Alabama for decades, man, in the SEC. But I've asked him, what do you think of the Deion effect? What's your take?
I'm a fan. I mean, I love, again, we're talking about Charles Huff, getting in with the kids and inspiring them and kind of talking their language. And they have ultimate respect for him. I think it would be fun to play for him. If you are a competitive player, if you are a confident player, you want to play for him. And I think that he has shown in this new era of college football, when you can, just reload a program overnight or in an off season, man. Did they win one game or 0 games last year?
One.
I mean,
1-11.
Incredible. Incredible how competitive. Of course, 2 of the players are elite, or maybe 3 of them are elite type players.
Well, gotta have them. Gotta have them.
Yeah. So I'm impressed with Deion. I understand he has a lot of haters in the coaching community and some of the other schools. I get it, but I think he's good for college football. I mean, if the Colorado Buffaloes are on TV, people are going to be watching.
Yeah, that's for sure. And why hate when he gives nothing but positivity? Now, AP said that he saw some talking smack on Oregon that I heard. I've not seen it. I would never talk smack on Oregon.
Right.
I'm not going to talk smack on anybody. Right. I mean, why stir the horse? What's wrong with people nowadays? It's like Don Nealon would be like, you know what? He'd tell our team, listen, guys, all right, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to act like this team in college are the New York Giants. All right, that's what you're going to hear from me. But don't believe it because we're going to kick their can. All right. He says, I'm going to go out there because he's just like, I am not going to give any information that would go ahead and be locker room material.
Right.
And I know things have changed, but again, why Colorado State? You may have won that game against Colorado if you wouldn't have totally just fired up the whole hornet's nest and got them swarming so that they just fought to the very end. I don't know. I mean, I'm not a predictor. I know this. Keep your mouth shut and go play football. That's what I think. I think if you did that, you'd be all right.
Yeah, I agree. As far as the game, the organization of the game from a coach's standpoint, but part of what you're always going to get from prime time is the entertainment value. And I don't think Colorado cares that he marches to the beat of his own drummer because, listen, they didn't have enough money to pay him when they hired him. And now he's bringing in millions. So they're going to let him do what he does.
Yep, and you know what? Give me my theme song, and tell me that's not cool, man. You want to hear that? And the cool thing is, I think last, and I'm going to let you go here, Jim. After you go ahead and tell us again how to get your paper, but the last thing I'm going to say is, he honestly empowers his players to believing in succeeding. Now, yes, rubber met the road against Oregon, and they didn't have their best player, whatever. That's life. All right. But he empowers them to believe that they can succeed. And a bump in the road is not the end of the season. And I think you're going to keep seeing that with them, even if they go 500. What an improvement that they have. Entertainment. They got a quarterback that's fun to watch. They got a team that's inspired. I mean, they all look. Did you see Deion when he talked to Jimmy Horn, the receiver, talked about his dad watching in incarceration? And the kid is hugging him on the field because it meant the world. And when he got the touchdown, I mean, you talk about ripping my heart out, man. Like that was so cool.
Yeah,
that was so cool. And that's affecting lives. That's changing lives. And it's just a cool thing. How can you hate the guy?
That's right. That kind of reminds me of why I want to do the show that I'm going to do, Jim Workman show, that's going to be released beginning next month. It's probably going to be a once a week show, but it's telling those type of stories that are going to tug at your heart, and maybe things that you thought you knew or people that you thought you knew, but kind of get in and tell what inspires those people. So I would guess that that's the type of stories we're going to tell, and again, just not just about sports, but just feature stories about people's lives. So I'm really looking forward to that. But as far as Wally's and Wimpy's go, I mean, you've given the web address, and it's on the background behind me, WallyWimpySports.com. You can get, there's a couple of tabs on there. You can check out when you click locations. When you click on that, you get to see all the pickup points, and also it really needs updated. So you'll see many of the pickup points on there. But you'll also see, I believe it says e-edition or digital edition.
Right.
When you click that link, it takes you to the Patreon page. And if you get on there and you sign up, again, it's just $4 a month, you immediately get the current issue downloaded to your tablet or your phone or whatever you want to view it on. But you get the past 5 years back issues as well.
Oh,
there's
all right.
there's more than 100 that you'll be able to access from there. But and then as I said earlier, you'll get the newest edition first. As we're sending that to the printer on Sunday night, you're going to be sitting there in your living room or in your study, in your man cave. You're going to be reading it Sunday night. So a real advantage. I would encourage people to go to patreon.com/WallyWimpy. That supports us at $4 a month. We'd love to have hundreds of people on there, and we put out a good product, and we'll get it right to you.
All right, man. Well, that sounds pretty darn cool. I love it. Again, for me, it's all about nostalgia.
Yes.
It's something that I did for a few years, more than a few years. And so it was really cool. So I really appreciate that. Appreciate what you're doing. We'll definitely keep up on the Jim Workman show, see what you got going on. But hey, man, come on back here and see, come on, keep coming on because I need info, man. I want that Mountain East. I want those high school. Who's the big game this week? Real quick.
Oh, man. I didn't prepare well enough. I have to get my glasses on for that, man.
You don't have to answer. I just want to know because I think it's going to be Morgantown High because my two sons are coaching it.
Okay, who are they playing this week?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll be able to tell you really quick. So Morgantown, and these schedules are, they are alphabetical and by class. So it's really easy to find your team. Morgantown is playing Wheeling Park at home.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did actually know.
Wheeling Park's 2-2 right now. Wheeling Park got beat by University last week, 17-14.
Okay. Well, I think Morgantown's undefeated so far.
Morgantown is 4-0. They've beaten South Charleston, Bridgeport, Musselman, and Buckhannon Upshur. So only Bridgeport, Musselman, pretty good program too, but Musselman's only 2-2. But Morgantown's going to have probably a pretty good matchup this week. And then the following week, looks like they're playing at Fairmont Senior. So, it's going to be a couple interesting weeks for the Mohegans.
Yep, absolutely. All right, man. Well, listen, we'll talk here, and we'll have you back on. Hopefully, come on. And I'm a big fan, Wally Wimpy. Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
Big fan of the WolfMan's call too, man. Appreciate you.
All right, brother. Take care now. Yep. All righty. Wow, that was cool. I'll tell you, what a good show today. I really enjoyed it. Today was kind of a lay off the Mountaineer kind of thing and get into Wally's and Wimpy's, getting a little bit of AP Stedham there, talk about some national issues, talk about a little bit of Dion. I got to tell you something, I'm a big Dion guy. When you empower young men to go out and to do better than when they normally can, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And when you're taking, say 120, 115, and you do that. And if you recall, when you watch him and you go ahead and you think about it, and he's talking about his team, and he's talking about the words, and words make a difference to tongue. And it's a good, you know what? Maybe I'm just going to have to go ahead and play this for you because I wanted to play this about Dion. And it's important. And this is an interview he had. So please listen.
Just believing in somebody due to their confidence? it uplifts them and it motivates them. The Bible clearly says there's life and death in the power of the tongue. And I use the tongue to uplift you. I mean, when I say girl. You see what I'm saying? Like that's automatic. And it's the same thing when a woman looks at a man and says, you go, boy. Boy, you did that. Boy, you did that. I mean, and when I'm telling my kids, we had an instance on the sideline this last game where Jimmy was having a horrific game. He's a receiver, Jimmy Horn. And I said, Jimmy, you a dog. We from Florida, man. And guess what? Papa's at the crib, and he's incarcerated watching you right now. And he wants to clap in front of all his different inmates because he believes in his son. We're going to make Pop proud tonight. That's what we're going to do because his son is a dog. Now, you go out there and show the world who you are. And in return, he went and caught the touchdown, the game-tying touchdown. And he was having a horrendous night. But just speaking life into Jimmy and understand where he was, where he was located, I've been there because I sympathize and empathize with him, and I know his background and his situation. So I'm able to pull that intangible out of him that I connect to him in a pivotal time like that. And that's why I got to know my kids.
Got to know your kids. Now, if you're going to hate on that, that's on you. That's someone that's trying to inspire and trying to take care of and trying to uplift their players. You know, have you ever listened to what Deion talks about? And he's not going to win every game. Deion talks about his old school. You know, you could put the same thing. You could put it on Bear Bryant. He's just not going to talk in Deion's way. Coach Bear Bryant, he's going to talk old Southern way, right? Well, Deion's got his own way, his own swag of way talking, and modern, whatever you want to call it. But they're saying the same thing. They're saying about earning and respect, earning your number, that you have to earn it, and having respect of your teammates and respect your coaches, and doing the right things. All right? That is cool. And most of all, he's got a really cool theme song that I dig. But what I really love, what I most, and all joking aside, is when I look at his team, they are believing in him, and he is doing the right thing by uplifting them to believe not only in themselves, but to believe in their teammates as well. And I think that's very important for a head coach. Very, very important for a head coach. And when you do that, you're affecting guys, not only just for those games. Don Nalen has affected me for my entire life post-college. All right, I still go back and I still think about what Don Nalen told me. I still think about what Mike Jacobs, my offensive line coach and offensive coordinator, told me. I still think about Steve Dunlap, what my recruiting coach and defensive coordinator, great one, right? I still think about all those coaches, what they told me, and life lessons. All right, so the next time you want to hate, I don't know if you have to hate it just because he's going ahead and he's doing something in a flashy way, if you will. Like, well, you know what? They say, well, if you're all about videos and all that, I don't know. I mean, that's about recruiting, right? I mean, how many videos does Oregon have, right? I mean, they got a lot. So, I mean, I think that it's just you might have the swag. And, you know, I think Deion the team going 1-11, Colorado, it's an amazing story, Let's see. What are you saying here, Timothy Green? Deion has swag straight up. He was good at what he did, and he's darn good at what he's doing. I agree with you, Timothy. I agree with you. Now, listen, I went ahead and I dropped the link. If anybody wants to come on, this is your opportunity to do so. All right? This is the link. Tomorrow, we got hopefully, I'm going to have Tony Altamore is going to come on. And also, we got Michael Stevens for the TCU beat writer. And then Friday, we're going to have the pregame breakdown. We'll have TCU. And what do we have here? I see this with Timothy Green. Timothy, what do you say here? Hey, Wolfman, I would like to know what you think our chances really are to beat TCU and why. Well, I think you really need to wait, Timothy, to Friday when I do the breakdown because, you know, I say no. Cover 2 data. It's going to remember we had winner chicken dinner, parlay 3. Got it on Penn State and Northwestern and golly, if I can't remember the last one, that's what happens when you get your head struck a lot by other helmets, right? How about that today, huh? A.P. Stedham, I'll tell you what, I sure hope we get him back. I love that he's covered the SEC for so many years. He was just a beat writer, Alabama, sports talk show. If you go listen to his podcast, it's on the radio, but it's a podcast on Spotify. You know, like Max Starks, right? He's on the show with the Steelers with my brother Craig and Bill Hillgrove. So again, he's getting some great guests listening to him. They cover football, they cover national issues, and they certainly cover the Southeast Conference. And then we had, of course, Jim Workman on there from Wally's and Wimpy's. And I would say this, man, is that Wally's and Wimpy's, that is really good stuff. I mean, $4 a month, and you can get on the Patreon, which is the edition online, watching Sunday Night Football. Totally get everything from high school to your Division II, everything. I mean, it's cool, man. Again, I'm so big on it because it's nostalgic for me, and I think we're gonna do some things there, man. I gotta go ahead and advertise down there, man. Right there in the WolfMan's Call. I gotta do some of that. So all that good stuff, man. And anybody who wants to jump on, this is your opportunity. You got any questions? Lay it on me. Except for, I'll give you that, Timothy. I'll definitely give it to you on Friday. What I think. I think it's going to be a tough game. Tough game for TCU to go on the road and beat that team. But we will see. And you're going to have to see when I go ahead, I watch that film, and I break that film down for you. And then Koken's going to come on. Kevin Koken is going to come on and give you his take. It was pretty on target last week against Texas Tech, if you remember. So, again, you got to watch it Monday through Friday, man. And we got some really good things happening, and sponsors are really starting to kick in. And if you want to be a sponsor here on the show, all you got to go to is Wolfman's Call at gmail.com. Wolfman's Call at gmail.com. I don't see anyone else with questions. I don't see anyone else here trying to jump on here. So let's go to the network, man. And we'll go ahead and we'll check it out. I went ahead and I put it down there. Now, yesterday, I have to admit, we went a little bit fast and I missed one. So I'm not going to miss it today. And as we jack this up. Alrighty, there you go. Route 22 Sports Bar, Weirton, West Virginia. Appreciate you. The WolfMan's Call Network, Brickside Bar and Grille, eat local down there in Bridgeport. Rob Davis. You got the Mason Jar Barbecue and more in Fairmont. Steve Reese. You got Jimbo's Place twice, one in Elkins and one in Buckhannon. You have the Pallet right there in Scott Depot, Hayes Valley. You got Archies up there on East Carson Street in Pittsburgh. And you got Legends Sports Bar and Grill, Cheat Lake, Lakeview Resort. You got the Pitch there, Sports Bar and Grill in Dunbar. And you got Danny's down there in Princeton right there. You got Cantrell's River City Grill and Pub, Hinton, West Virginia. And what else we got? Oh, you got Mountaineer Tap House right there with Mel right there in Morgantown, Oakland Street. And let me see, I'll keep going here. Calacino's Pizzeria and Sports Bar, Beckley. Yes, love the za. Kegler Sports Bar in Morgantown. Royalty, man. WVU Royalty. And the new one here, opening Friday night. You got the Jar Restaurant and a Hotspot. Used to be the Mason Jar. And new ownership, and they're carrying it and doing some great things. Opening Friday night. All is good. Again, you heard Jim Workman talking about Parmar Stores being a great sponsor. We love Parmar Stores. Parmar Stores is fantastic. Brian Wall and all in there. All right. Well, with that being said, nobody else. All right, let's go ahead, man, and let's crank it out. Closing commercials. And who's the best center in the country? Who? I ask you who. Right? It's got to be the one and only, right? You know who. Zach Frazier.
Hi, I'm Zach Frazier from Fairmont. When I'm back home, you'll find me at my local Parmar store.
We have that gold and blue pride at your local Parmar store. We are coming to your neighborhood soon. West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Maryland, we have you covered. Download the Parmar app and sign up for the Parmar Rewards Card. Food, gas, groceries, and more. We are Gold and Blue proud, and we are Parmar Stores.
If there's not a Parmar store near you now, there will be soon.
Buzzballs, ready-to-drink cocktails. #1 single-serve premix brand in the U.S. Buzzballs, have a ball. Stationers, #1 office supplier in West Virginia. Always in stock. All Mini, the anywhere, anytime chargers, powering a connected world. Never buy AA batteries again. Rechargeable 500 times plus. Paul Mini AA USB lithium battery, as easy to charge as your cell phone. Sustainable energy, stay charged. Go green, save green. Feel the power of Paul. Order now at paulmini.com.
West Virginia United.